This is Matthew McConaughey,
Natalie Portman,
James Patterson,
Michael Ian Black,
and you are listening to
Five Questions
with Dan
Schawbel.
Michelle, welcome to Five Questions.
Thank you so much, Dan, for having me. I'm excited about these questions.
After graduating from high school, why did you doubt your ability to make a career as a professional singer and pursue a criminal justice degree?
Well, the reason why I doubted being able to have a career in music is because I never saw it. I never saw anyone in my family do it. But I have seen doctors in my family. There's three. My mom's a nurse, her sister's a nurse. So I knew that there are professionals in my family. I knew that they went to school to do this. I was like, well, I guess I better follow suit and go to school. And I also think my mother kind of discouraged it because she did not think, her whole thing was, you better get a job, because if you get a job, you can get insurance, your 401k, all of that.
It's safer.
It's safer, and that is not promised making a career in music as far as insurance and benefits.
Yeah, it's definitely riskier, but if you've got the talent, you definitely have a shot at succeeding, especially if you believe in yourself and have supportive parents. But I do find that, people do model people around them. Like if you don't see anyone in your family, like you were saying, who's doing what you aspire to do, you might default to what their career path was because it's right in front of you and they can actually tell you how to achieve it.
Absolutely. And you know what? There's always a first for everything. If I'm like my Uncle Charles, he's the first physician in the family. Now, he didn't see anybody, but it took somebody to say, I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to go beyond what's normal. People before him were factory workers or odds, how they call them, the in and out odds and end jobs, so once he became a doctor, his son became a doctor, then his nephew became a doctor. So we saw it. And so when I saw that growing up to say, I knew that I would be successful because I saw success. I didn't know to the magnitude of being able to Google me and all kinds of stuff would come up. Now, if you Google my uncle, you will probably Google him. You'll Google it'd be what what is it called? Physician's grade or something like. You'll probably see that coming up. But I didn't know to the point where people 22 years later, such as Dan, would be wanting to talk to me, right? So I knew that I would be an amazing attorney or a forensic psychologist. So I knew I would be successful in that area somehow, but not like as a world-renowned singer or something like that.
Yeah, but you probably had a lot of qualities that would make you successful in multiple careers. It just turns out you went in this career and it worked out really well for you.
Well, yeah. So the three people that I named that are physicians, they're great musicians. An organist, a saxophone player, trumpet player. And the one that plays trumpet can also sing. I have a cousin that I looked up to. I couldn't physically touch Whitney Houston because Whitney was just larger than life. But I had my cousin in my hometown that could sing so beautifully. But none made music a career. Just something we do in church, or if somebody knows you can sing, you sing at a wedding. But
which is fine too.
That's fine too. Guys, listen. If all you want to do is sing at the wedding and bar mitzvahs, you go right on ahead. Because nowadays people are getting paid nice because these bar mitzvahs are expensive lately.
True. I had one.
See?
After meeting Beyonce and Kelly Rowland in the lobby of an Atlanta hotel, how did you know that you could make it as a music group?
Well, how did I know we can make it as a music group? I would say, looking back, they just had that eye of the tiger. No matter whatever obstacle was thrown their way. They were awesome, professional, but still, at the end of the day, sometimes some lions and tigers, they'll let you cuddle up. They're sweet, but when it's time to go to work, it's their focus. It's time to go to work. So that's what I saw in Beyonce and Kelly, knowing that Okay. And I knew that if I were never to be in the group after meeting them, I could say I met some of the most awesome, kind women.
Yeah, and I think part of it is you saw some of yourself in them, exhibiting the same qualities, the work ethic, and you're like, yeah,
Work
they're like
ethic
me.
and sacrifice. When I look back, I wasn't into hanging out with my friends. I was into research, reading. I was into music. So you'll kind of notice, I'm probably jumping ahead, but when you notice that you kind of, now there's a part where I isolated because of depression, but if you notice you're kind of isolating to study, you're kind of isolating because you're going to decide at 5 a.m. you want to wake up to go shoot hoops in the gym before everybody goes to school, or you want to use the dance studio in the school to dance, or you want to go to the library and research stuff before everybody gets there. That is the sign of someone who is about to be very successful because of sacrifice. I remember sacrificing my lunch break to go sit with my music teacher in high school to learn arias and take voice lessons. I would take my lunch tray in the music room during my lunch break, and I get a sip here and there, a bite here and there, and we'd study music while everybody else was in the lunchroom or the cafeteria having a blast. By the way, nothing is wrong with either or. You can stay in the cafeteria and have a blast with your friends because sometimes that's the only time of day where you're not in a schoolroom listening to the teacher, being bored. But notice that there are some people who was like, yeah, I'm good on having fun right now, for the sake of possibly something that could help me along the way.
Yeah, I look at it the same as you. Growing up, I used to say I need to sacrifice today for a better tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And sacrifice in terms of how I thought of it back then is like what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's like maybe I have to stay up till 2 a.m. Maybe instead of going out, Friday and Saturday night, maybe I spend Saturday night doing more work. But the ship is just not going to move on its own. You have to steer the ship.
And now you've got me thinking, Dan, you got me thinking remember when I said I didn't know I would be a professional singer, but yet I was taking music lessons during my lunch break because that teacher also saw something in me and volunteered their time to work with me on my lunch break, So
It's so powerful.
That was kind of very, very cool.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. And when you were rising to fame, a lot of people dished you advice. Everyone became an expert around you and knew what was best for you suddenly. What's the balance between getting counsel from others and listening to your own inner voice when making career and life decisions?
So funny you should ask that, because I remember when I got, before Destiny's Child, I sang background for Monica for about 6 or 9 months going on tour. And I just remember getting the phone call, I didn't ask permission. That same thing when I got the call to go to Houston to have a formal visit with Beyonce and Kelly, I prayed. I told my music director at my church that I got a phone call to go to Houston. I prayed about it and I'm going to go. That was it. Because I've noticed when I ask 6 or 7 people, it brings anxiety, uncertainty, instead of, like you said, following that spirit guide, which is your intuition. You have it. Everybody has it. Some of us act like we don't have it, but we have one.
Yeah, you got to put yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now if you're a minor, yes, you're going to have to ask permission from your parents. If your parents are probably still kind of providing your means of comfort, you might want to check in with them a little bit. But a lot of people that you discover have been successful. Some got some pushback from family and friends. Then the other half got tons of support. You go, girl. You go, boy. Yes. They were taken to swim class, music class, all their recitals by their parents. And some parents dropped them off So yeah.
So true. And you talk about anxiety and depression that you face in your book, Checking In.
Yes.
What did you learn during your process of healing that could be useful to anyone looking to manage their mental health better?
Like I said, I used isolation as a way to cope, but I've learned that even dealing with depression and anxiety, a lot of people say, get around community, 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 community. But sometimes you do need that time to steal away, to center and heal, and make sure you're making the decisions for you. You're creating and you're realizing what boundaries need to be set so you don't get yourself back in a place of anxiety and depression. I think for me, like tonight, there's a birthday party going on of someone. And I knew 2 weeks ago I wasn't going to go. I've been asked every day, am I going to go? Will you go? Will you go? No. I'm going to be excited online shopping on my sofa. I promise you. So when you can say no, plus I'm tired, I'm jet lagged, and I don't want to go. If I go, I'm betraying what my soul wants. You know what I mean? Now there are certain friends and family that you go to stuff for that you really don't want to be at. Because they'll be there for yours. So that's how I kind of make that distinction, is when to say no instead of being at the glitz and glamour of it all. I think I've learned that in going on 4 years of the word no, I don't want to go, I don't want to do this, has been working wonders, Dan.
Well, you can't do everything. So you're going to have to say no, and it's better to say no to things you really don't think that are the best use of your energy, effort, and presence in general, right? It can be very exhausting to be around the wrong people in the wrong environment. So if you can put yourself in a position where you're around healthy people who like love you and want to be around you and support you,
Dan.
You're more likely to be happy and succeed.
Because I find that when I go someplace I don't want to go, I'm looking at the watch. I'm only going to stay 10 minutes. Then I'm out the door, So I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that,
Definitely. And what's your best piece of career advice?
My best piece of career advice is, with any career, there are some things you're going to have to do until you're able to do what you want to do. Get to a place, there are certain venues you're going to have to perform in. Or if you're a public speaker, you might be asked to speak in a college study room. Do it.
I did.
See, Dan, it's all preparation.
100%.
It is all preparation. So I know we didn't have social media to where I can compare my progress versus someone else's progress. Now, folks want the arena now and don't appreciate that 10-seater, that 50-seater, that 100-seater. Now, those that went through the process appreciate that 100-seater, and depending on what it is, will go back and perform at that 100-seater when they just got through doing a 100,000 or a 10,000-seater. Because you understand the process. You also understand where you came from. And there are times you give back to those arenas and places that you spoke at, sang at, cooked at, whatever it is. And you just go back to let people know it can be done.
Yeah. I mean, I have so many examples, speaking at, like you were saying, speaking at colleges before you speak to a room of 6,000 people in Vegas.
Yep.
Being on local TV a dozen times before you go on national TV, because part of it is it's training wheels to go on, to take the training wheels off to go on the bike and ride, right?
It's training wheels.
Yeah. You don't want to fail at the top.
Yeah. And when you do make it, when a hometown newspaper, when a hometown television station reaches out to me, it is an automatic yes. Matter of fact, sometimes I'm telling my PR or publisher company, make sure we talk to so-and-so from the Rockford Register Star or from WREX, WTVO, WIFR. Okay, I can't believe I remember all the names. Like even the other day, it's so funny that someone DM'd me and said, matter of fact, I got a post about them. They sent me coffee. A local firefighter union sent me coffee from my hometown. I'm gonna say yes. You know, I could have that $40 or $50 bag of coffee. No, I'm drinking my hometown firefighters coffee.
Yeah, because you know where you came from.
Absolutely, Dan.
Well, that's great advice. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.